The infinite expanse of space stretched out before him, a canvas of twinkling stars and swirling nebulae. Veteran astronaut Robert Walker had seen many wonders in his years of exploration, but the thrill of the unknown never ceased to stir his soul. On this routine mission, he was charting a course through a relatively uncharted sector, scanning for resources and potential habitable planets. The starbound, his trusty spacecraft, hummed steadily as it glided through the void. Robert leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms above his head. The familiar rhythm of his daily checks had become almost meditative. Yet it was during this serene moment that an unexpected blip on his radar snapped him to attention. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing as he focused on the unfamiliar signal. Unidentified distress signal detected the starbound's AI Athena, announced in its calm, synthetic voice. Location, Robert asked, his voice steady but tinged with curiosity. A barren planet in the Omega-3 sector. Coordinates have been plotted. Robert studied the display, a sense of urgency washing over him. Distress signals in this part of the galaxy were rare, and he knew that responding to them was part of his duty as an astronaut. He adjusted the starbound's trajectory, setting a course for the signal's source. As the ship neared the planet, its surface came into view, a desolate landscape of rocky terrain and dusty plains, with no signs of life or civilization. Robert donned his spacesuit, preparing for what might be a challenging rescue mission. The starbound descended smoothly, landing on a flat stretch of land near the signal's origin. The hatch hissed open, and Robert stepped out onto the planet's surface, his boots crunching against the rocky ground. He scanned the area, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. The source of the signal was close, very close. He followed the readings from his handheld scanner, each beep guiding him closer. And then he saw her. Lying amidst the rubble was an unconscious figure, clearly alien in appearance. Her skin was a soft, iridescent blue, shimmering faintly in the dim light. Her features were delicate, almost ethereal, with a cascade of silver hair flowing around her face. Robert's breath caught in his throat. He had encountered many alien species before, but none like this. He knelt beside her, gently checking for signs of life. To his relief, she was breathing, albeit shallowly. Her pulse was weak but steady. Without wasting another moment, he carefully lifted her into his arms and carried her back to the starbound. Inside the ship, he placed her on the medical bed and initiated the revival procedures. The ship's medical AI began scanning her vitals and administering necessary treatments. Robert watched with bated breath, his mind racing with questions. Who was she? What had happened to her crew? How had she ended up on this barren planet? The medical AI's soothing voice broke his reverie. Vitals stabilizing. Subject is in a state of deep unconsciousness, but is responding to treatment. Robert let out a sigh of relief, his gaze fixed on the alien girl. Hang in there, he whispered. You're safe now. As the starbound lifted off, leaving the barren planet behind, Robert's thoughts were consumed by the mystery of the alien girl. He couldn't shake the feeling that their meeting was more than a mere coincidence. There was something about her that stirred a deep, protective instinct within him. Minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. Robert's mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where had she come from? What had happened to her crew? He felt an unexpected urgency, a need to protect and help her, unlike anything he had ever felt before. A soft moan broke through his thoughts. Ori's eyelids fluttered, and Robert's heart skipped a beat. He leaned closer, his eyes wide with anticipation. Slowly her eyes opened, revealing a striking shade of violet that seemed to pierce through him. Where am I? Her voice was soft, almost musical, but laced with confusion and fear. You're safe, Robert said gently, holding up his hands in a non-threatening gesture. My name is Robert Walker. I'm an astronaut from Earth. I found you on a barren planet and brought you aboard my ship, the Starbound. Ori blinked, her gaze darting around the unfamiliar room before settling back on Robert. Earth. I don't remember much. My ship, it crashed. My crew. Robert placed a comforting hand on her arm. We'll figure it out together. For now, just rest. You're safe here. She nodded weakly, exhaustion evident in her eyes. Thank you, Robert. My name is Ori. It's nice to meet you, Ori, he replied with a warm smile. Get some rest. We'll talk more when you're feeling better. As Ori drifted back to sleep, Robert couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility. He needed to help her find her crew and understand what had happened. But more than that, he wanted to get to know her, to understand the strange connection he felt. Over the next few days, Robert and Ori settled into a routine. He continued to monitor her health, while she regained her strength and started to open up about her experiences. She told him about her home planet, a place of advanced technology and beautiful landscapes, so different from Earth's rugged terrain. She spoke of her crew, her friends, and the mission that had gone terribly wrong. Robert listened intently, his admiration for Ori growing with each passing day. Her resilience and determination to find her crew, despite the odds, inspired him. He shared stories of his own adventures in space, the challenges he had faced, and the wonders he had seen. They bonded over their mutual love for exploration and discovery. One evening, as they sat in the ship's observation deck, gazing out at the stars, Robert turned to Ori. "We'll find your crew, Ori. I promise. But I need to know more about what happened. Anything you can remember might help." Ori took a deep breath, her violet eyes reflecting the distant stars. "We were on a mission to explore a new star system. Everything was going smoothly until we encountered an unexpected gravitational anomaly. It pulled us off course and damaged our ship. We made an emergency landing on that barren planet. But the impact was too severe. I was separated from the others, and I don't know what happened to them." Robert nodded, his mind working through the possibilities. "We'll start by repairing the starbound. Then, we'll search for any signs of your crew. We'll visit nearby planets, stations, anywhere we can find information or help." Ori smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Thank you, Robert. I don't know what I would have done without you." "You don't have to thank me," Robert replied softly. "We're in this together." Robert glanced over at Ori, who was examining a holographic map of Earth projected in the ship's central hub. Her eyes, a shade of violet unlike anything he had seen on Earth, shimmered with determination. It had only been a few days since he had revived her, but her strength and resilience had already left a deep impression on him. "We'll need to start by finding replacement parts for the starbound," Robert said, his voice steady. "There's a reputable market in New Tokyo that deals in advanced spacecraft components. We'll head there first." The journey to New Tokyo was swift, the starbound slicing through the Earth's atmosphere with ease. New Tokyo, a city of gleaming skyscrapers and neon lights, was a hub of technological advancement. The market Robert spoke of was nestled in the heart of the city, a bustling place filled with vendors selling everything from microchips to warp drives. As they walked through the crowded market, Ori's eyes widened with wonder. The sights, sounds, and smells were unlike anything on her home planet. Robert watched her with a smile, feeling a swell of pride in his world and an eagerness to share it with her. At a stall overflowing with intricate machinery, Robert haggled with a grizzled vendor for the parts they needed. Ori, meanwhile, examined the components with a critical eye, her technical knowledge proving invaluable. Together, they selected the best parts and loaded them onto a hovercart. Their partnership, however, wasn't without its hiccups. While navigating the market, they encountered a group of curious onlookers fascinated by Ori's alien appearance. Though Earth had made contact with various alien species, Ori's unique features still drew attention. One particularly bold passerby reached out to touch her hair, an act that made Ori recoil in surprise. Robert stepped in quickly, placing himself between Ori and the onlookers. "Hey, give her some space," he barked, his protective instincts kicking in. Ori, regaining her composure, gave Robert a grateful smile. "Thank you. I am not used to such curiosity." Robert chuckled. "Welcome to Earth. People can be a bit nosy, but they mean well mostly." Back on the starbound, the real work began. Robert and Ori spent long hours in the ship's engine room, replacing damaged components and fine-tuning the systems. The work was physically demanding and mentally exhausting, but their combined expertise made them an effective team. One evening, as they worked side by side, a particularly stubborn circuit board refused to cooperate. Frustration etched across Ori's face as she attempted to recalibrate it for the third time. Robert, sensing her frustration, placed a hand on hers. "Ori," Robert said, breaking the silence. "How about we take a break? There's a place I know, a bar where we can relax and forget about our worries for a while." Ori turned to him, her luminescent eyes reflecting the lights of the city below. She nodded, a tentative smile playing on her lips. "I'd like that, Robert." The starbound touched down on a secluded landing pad near the outskirts of a bustling metropolis. Robert led Oeri through the winding streets, his heart racing with anticipation. He was eager to see how she would react to this part of human culture. They arrived at a cozy, dimly lit bar named the Nebula's Edge. The neon sign flickered invitingly, casting a soft glow over the entrance. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and welcoming. The hum of conversation and laughter filled the air, accompanied by the soft strains of jazz music. Robert guided Oeri to a secluded booth in the corner. The bartender, a burly man with a friendly smile, approached them. "What can I get you two?" he asked. Robert ordered a whiskey for himself and glanced at Oeri. "Would you like to try something new?" he asked her. Oeri nodded, her curiosity piqued. "Yes, please." "Let's start with something mild," Robert said to the bartender. "A glass of white wine for the lady." The bartender nodded and disappeared behind the counter. Moments later, he returned with their drinks. Robert watched as Oeri took her first sip of wine. Her eyes widened in surprise and she let out a soft, involuntary gasp. "Is everything all right?" Robert asked, leaning forward with concern. Oeri's cheeks flushed a delicate shade of blue, a clear sign of her alien physiology reacting to the alcohol. I feel strange," she admitted, her voice tinged with wonder. Robert chuckled, relieved. "It's just the alcohol. It affects everyone differently." Oeri took another sip, her expression shifting from surprise to delight. It's wonderful," she said, taking another larger gulp. As the evening progressed, Oeri's enjoyment of the wine grew. She laughed freely, her usually reserved demeanor dissolving in the warm haze of alcohol. Robert found himself captivated by her uninhibited joy, his own worries melting away. They talked about everything and nothing about the stars, their cultures, and the adventures they had shared. With each passing moment, Robert felt their bond deepen, an unspoken understanding blooming between them. At one point, Oeri leaned in close, her breath warm against his ear. "Robert," she whispered, "I think I like your world." He smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. "I'm glad, Oeri. I like having you here." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden, unexpected burst of laughter from Oeri. Her eyes sparkled mischievously as she reached for her glass, her movements growing increasingly unsteady. "More, please," she declared, her voice louder than before. Robert hesitated, aware of the potential consequences of overindulgence. But Oeri's exuberance was infectious, and he found himself unable to refuse her request. He signaled to the bartender for another glass of wine, and then another. As the night wore on, Oeri's arousal response became more pronounced. Her skin, usually a soft, shimmering silver, began to glow with a deeper, more vibrant hue. She leaned closer to Robert, her hand brushing his cheek, sending shivers down his spine. "Robert," she murmured, her voice low and husky, "I feel so alive." He swallowed hard, his heart pounding in his chest. "Oeri, maybe we should slow down." But Oeri shook her head, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that took his breath away. "No," she said firmly. "I want to feel this. I want to feel everything." The atmosphere between them shifted, charged with an undeniable tension. Robert's mind raced, torn between his desire for Oeri and his concern for her well-being. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. "Oeri," he said softly, "let's go somewhere more private." She nodded, her eyes never leaving his. Together they left the bar, the cool night air a stark contrast to the warmth they had just shared. They walked in silence, their steps in sync, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Back on the starbound, the ship's interior was quiet and dimly lit. Robert guided Oeri to the lounge, where they settled onto a plush couch. He poured them each a final glass of wine, his hands trembling slightly. As they sipped their drinks, the conversation turned more personal. They spoke of their fears and hopes, their dreams for the future. Oeri's hand found its way to Robert's, her touch sending a thrill through his body. "Robert," she said softly, her eyes filled with an emotion he couldn't quite place, I think I love you." His heart skipped a beat, his breath catching in his throat. "Oeri," he whispered, "I love you too." In that moment, the barriers between their worlds seemed to dissolve. They leaned in, their lips meeting in a tender, passionate kiss. The wine, the laughter, the shared experiences, all of it culminated in this perfect, intimate connection. As the night drew to a close, Robert and Oweri held each other close, their hearts beating in unison. They knew that the road ahead would be challenging, filled with uncertainties and obstacles. But they also knew that they would face it together, united by a love that transcended the boundaries of their worlds. In the quiet, starlit embrace of the starbound, Robert and Oweri drifted into a peaceful sleep, their future shining as brightly as the galaxies they had yet to explore. At dawn, light filtered through the large windows of Robert's laboratory on Earth, casting a soft glow on the shiny metallic surfaces of scientific instruments. The room was filled with advanced technology, the result of Robert's years of space research and study. Oweri stood by the workbench, mesmerized by Earth's technology, her eyes sparkling with curiosity and admiration. The previous night, Robert and Oweri had taken a break from their busy work to spend some time in a pub. Robert had suggested that Oweri try alcohol, one of the most common drinks on Earth. However, Oweri's unexpected and intense arousal response caught Robert's attention. Oweri liked the taste of alcohol so much that she could not stop and eventually got drunk. This triggered Robert's scientific curiosity, and he decided to study Oweri's physiology in more depth. Let's start with a basic analysis, Robert suggested, his voice steady yet filled with anticipation. He handed Oweri a small device designed to scan and analyze physiological data. This will give us a detailed readout of your body's response to various stimuli, including alcohol. Oweri took the device, her delicate fingers brushing against Robert's hand, sending a familiar warmth through him. She nodded, her vibrant eyes locking with his. "I trust you, Robert," she said softly. "Let's see what secrets my physiology holds." As Oweri placed the scanner against her wrist, Robert couldn't help but marvel at her resilience and adaptability. Despite the differences in their species, there was an undeniable connection between them, both scientifically and emotionally. The device beeped softly, indicating it had gathered enough data. Initial results are in, Robert announced, his eyes scanning the holographic display that materialized above the workbench. Your body metabolizes alcohol at an incredibly fast rate, but it also triggers a unique neurochemical reaction. This explains the intense response you had. Oweri leaned closer, studying the data alongside Robert. Her proximity made his heart race, but he focused on the task at hand. "What kind of reaction?" she asked, her voice tinged with intrigue. Robert highlighted a section of the display, showing a complex web of neurotransmitters and hormones. "It seems your species has a unique receptor that interacts with alcohol in a way that amplifies pleasure and arousal. It's fascinating, really. It's like your body treats alcohol as a kind of catalyst." Oweri's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of her natural hue. "That explains a lot," she murmured, a hint of embarrassment in her voice. "I've never felt anything like that before. It was overwhelming, but also thrilling." Robert smiled, feeling a mix of scientific curiosity and personal admiration for Oweri. "There's no need to be embarrassed. This is an incredible discovery. It shows just how unique and adaptable your species is." They spent the next few hours conducting various tests, each one revealing more about Oweri's physiology. They discovered that her body had an extraordinary ability to adapt to different environments, explaining her survival on the barren planet and her rapid adjustment to Earth's atmosphere. Her neural pathways were also highly flexible, allowing her to learn and process new information at an astonishing rate. As they worked, Robert found himself drawn not only to the scientific marvel that was Oweri, but also to her spirit and resilience. She was more than just an alien visitor, she was a being of extraordinary strength and beauty, both inside and out. During a break, Robert and Oweri sat by the large windows, sipping tea and discussing their findings. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue across the lab. "It's amazing how much we've learned in such a short time," Robert remarked, his eyes reflecting the warm glow of the sunset. Oweri nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's not just about the science, though. I've learned so much about you, about your world, and I've realized something important." Robert turned to her, his heart pounding. "What is it, Oweri?" She reached out, taking his hand in hers. "I've realized that no matter what happens, I want to be by your side. Our bond is something special, something that transcends species and science." Robert squeezed her hand, a profound sense of joy and relief washing over him. "I feel the same way, Oweri. Together we can achieve anything." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Robert and Oweri returned to their research with renewed vigor. Their work was no longer just a scientific endeavor, it was a testament to their growing love and partnership. Each discovery brought them closer, both intellectually and emotionally, forging a connection that was as deep and unbreakable as the vast universe they both cherished. In the weeks that followed, their research made headlines, capturing the imagination of scientists and the public alike. But to Robert and Oeri, it was more than just fame and recognition. It was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one filled with endless possibilities and the promise of a future together. Robert and Oeri had been working tirelessly for weeks, navigating the complexities of repairing the Starbound and searching for the materials needed to get it spaceworthy again. Every challenge they faced seemed to bring them closer together, their mutual respect and admiration growing with each passing day. Yet, amidst the clamor of scientific discovery and technical repair, there was a burgeoning emotional bond that neither had fully acknowledged. The Starbound glided smoothly over the azure waters of Earth, its sleek hull reflecting the sunlight as it cruised towards the research facility nestled in the mountains. Inside the cockpit, Robert glanced over at Ori, who was gazing out at the landscape with a thoughtful expression. Her violet eyes, still captivatingly alien, held a depth of contemplation that Robert had come to recognize. "Ori, are you okay?" Robert asked gently, his voice tinged with concern. She turned to him, her lips curving into a small, reassuring smile. "Yes, Robert, I've just been thinking a lot lately." Robert's heart skipped a beat. Over the past months, they had faced numerous challenges together, scouring the Earth for materials, delving into intense scientific research, and sharing countless moments that brought them closer. He couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of affection for her. As the Starbound touched down, they exited the ship and made their way to their private lab. That evening they sat on the balcony of their shared quarters, the sky ablaze with the colors of the setting sun. Robert held Ari's hand, his thumb gently caressing her delicate skin. "Ari, there's something I want to ask you," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. She turned to him, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What is it, Robert?" He took a deep breath, his heart racing. "Will you marry me?" The words spilled out, filled with hope and vulnerability. Ari's eyes sparkled with tears, and a radiant smile spread across her face. "Yes, Robert, I will marry you," she replied, her voice breaking with joy. Their wedding was a unique blend of Earth and Ori's homeworld traditions, a celebration of their union and the merging of their cultures. Friends and colleagues from both species gathered to witness the event, marveling at the love that had brought these two together. As they exchanged vows, promising to support and cherish each other for the rest of their lives, Robert felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. They had found each other against all odds, and together, they would face whatever challenges the future held. In the years that followed, Robert and Oeri continued their research, making groundbreaking discoveries that benefited both their worlds. Their love and partnership became a symbol of hope and unity, inspiring others to look beyond their differences and find common ground. And every evening as the sun set over the mountains, they would sit together on their balcony, hand in hand, knowing that they had chosen each other and that their love was the greatest adventure of all.